Hello and welcome. I'm so happy to have you here today on behalf of the entire GoodTrust team. I know that they are excited to see you here as well. And welcome to the first of the GoodTrust webinar series. My name is Robyn Sechler. I'm with Securing Memories, and I'm going to be your guide here today throughout the series. My friends at GoodTrust are going to talk about all things related to preserving and passing along your digital life and legacy. Like I said, I'm Robyn Sechler, and I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Securing Memories. I started this company after losing my dad and all the stories that went with him. So now I work with families to record their important family stories and secure them so they can be passed on for future generations. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to the founder and CEO of GoodTrust, Rikard Steiber. Rikard, because our stories are such a big part of who we are and what we do, I'd like you to share a little bit about your story behind how you started GoodTrust.
I will thank you, Robyn, and thank you for hosting. Much appreciated, and thank you everyone for coming. Yeah, so my story is my entire career has been in digital. I came over here from Sweden to the US with Google, and since then, I've been launching all kinds of digital services all around the world. And in the middle of my career, my father passed away early last year, and I had some friends who died in COVID in March, sort of first wave. And I was kind of sucked into this. What happens to your digital stuff when you die? And as it turns out, no one has any idea, and neither did I, even though I worked in digital for my entire life. So as it turns out, if you think about your email, your online documents, your banking, insurance, trading accounts, savings accounts, maybe you have some Bitcoins, social media, photos, all of those things that you have online today, if you were to be hit by a truck today, would your family and loved ones find all of those things? And the answer is probably not all of them. So there will be financial, there will be emotional things that will be lost forever. And that's kind of the reason we started GoodTrust, to come up with a solution to make sure that the digital legacy of everyone can be preserved in a good way.
Thank you, Rikard. I love how you took an experience that was, difficult for you and turned it into something that can benefit so many people.
Yeah.
And next, I'd like to introduce you to GoodTrust co-founder, Daniel Sieberg, who is truly the chief storyteller for the company. Daniel, tell us a little about yourself so everybody can get to know you.
Yeah, hi, Robyn. Thank you so much for being with us, and to everybody who's here as part of the webinar. So, my maternal grandmother died years ago of Alzheimer's, and I think it set me off on a path of thinking about the value of stories and memories. I was a longtime science and technology journalist at places like CNN and CBS, and then I transitioned away from journalism into technology, worked at Google for several years, and got into entrepreneurship about 4 years ago. Rikard and I connected about 1.5 years ago. We co-authored a book together called Digital Legacy and started building the company and really thinking about what Rikard was describing, the value of helping people to preserve those stories and memories and assets that are so important to all of us. And I'm just excited to be here to share what we're doing and give people a sense of what we're up to and help anybody to learn more along the way.
There is no question that the two of you have some serious passion behind what you do and why you do it. And our final presenter today is Andy Lopez. And Andy comes to GoodTrust with a little bit of a different background. He comes to us from the funeral industry, which gives him a really unique perspective on what families find to be most important after they've lost a loved one. Andy, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, thank you, Robyn, for moderating. Really appreciate it. When I first spoke about GoodTrust with Rikard, it was eye-opening for me, because over 20 years, we've always been, the service industry is where the funeral profession is. We serve others. We're always finding solutions to the problems that are there when someone passes away. And I remember looking at Rikard and said, this is the one thing we've been waiting for 20 years. We needed something that helped us not only identify what the digital legacy was, but actually retrieve those memories so they're not lost forever when someone passes away. We are always talking about the date of birth and date of death. And in my career, my job's always been to fill that line between the two, with memories, a sign of a life well lived, the positive things, and then celebrate those accomplishments once they're gone so they're not forgotten. This allows us not only to remember, but to preserve and to share going forward. And I'm excited. I can't wait to share all the other things that we can do with the platform. And it's going to be a great seminar.
Thank you, Andy. I'm going to start just by talking a little bit about digital legacy and sort of what that is. And when we talk about legacy, a lot of times the words that come to mind are estate planning. And in general estate planning, we think about your home or your money, land, maybe even family heirlooms. But the things that have gotten left out up to this point are things like your memories and your videos and your pictures and even some documents and all these things that we create on our digital platforms or on our devices. Those are what we call digital assets or a digital legacy. And we're going to talk a little bit more today. Rikard, I'd like for you to share with us how GoodTrust can really help you to organize and secure this digital legacy.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the thing that really has happened the past years is that the physical world and the digital world has kind of blended. So even if you have a contract or a deed to your house or a vaccination card, that's probably something that, you know, you don't even know where that is in its physical shape, because maybe you have a copy of it in your phone. Or maybe you uploaded, you know, the contract or the deed to your house in your cloud document. So everything that's physical is now also digital, but everything that's digital is not necessarily physical, which means that if you don't organize it, you will not find it. So that's why digital legacy is so important. So it's essentially the digital aspects of you, everything you've done, everything you touch across all of your websites, your everyday banking, what you do with your kids. So what we wanted to do is to find a way where you very easily can organize all of those things for yourself so you can find them, but also how you can share them if something were to happen to you.
So it sounds to me like GoodTrust is sort of like an estate plan for digital assets. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, and we'll dive into a little bit some of the aspects of that.
Sure. So let's talk about the pillars that make up GoodTrust. Now that we understand a little bit of the background of how GoodTrust works, let's sort of get into the details of it. GoodTrust is made up of 3 pillars that support the overall goal of getting the things that matter into the hands of the people that matter. And those 3 pillars are the digital vault, preserving your stories, and estate planning. Rikard, if you would tell us a little bit about what the digital vault is and how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. So from my own experience was, how do you find all of those things that you have online today? So from your social media accounts to your financial banking accounts to your insurance. So having those sites and accounts, which you typically don't have in a physical shape, you don't necessarily get an account statement, organized in one place so that you can find them. And typically most people don't even remember their passwords to the sites that they have today. So getting organized. I remember when I was at Google, I had pension saving with Scottish widows. And I mean, there's no way where I find this today if I don't look really hard. But also if something were to happen to me, my wife would never find that account. So it's so important that you put all the most important accounts and sites there and how to access them. And then what you can do is that you can share that with the people who matter. So you can share it with your spouse, for example, or your kids. So think of the digital world is like a safety deposit box where you can put not just sites and accounts, but also your documents or notes for your loved ones. Or it could also be access to your devices, like how do you get into your phone, for example. So it's essentially all of the things that you really think matter, helping your family and yourself find those things.
I love that visual of the safety deposit box because you can imagine it being incredibly secure with one key. And I think we're going to talk a little bit later about sort of how you manage that key, but you said it yourself. If you don't know all of your own passwords, how could we expect our family members or other loved ones to ever be able to find them themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. Also, the security aspect is so important that you have a place where you have all of your data being encrypted, protected by two-factor authentication, and then that everything is stored with servers from, in this case, from Microsoft Azure, which is one of the top providers in the world when it comes to secure hosting.
So we're going to move into the next pillar of GoodTrust, which is preserving your stories. And you're not going to want to miss this. It is really, really very fun to see. Daniel's going to show us some of the amazing features that GoodTrust has to help keep our stories protected, but also shareable. Because after all, if nobody sees them, what's the point? And at Securing Memories, one of the biggest thing that we do is we share stories. So I'm going to share my story with you here just for a moment. And so I lost my dad about 10 years ago. And when he was sick, I sat with him in his hospice room and asked him question after question, like, what was it like growing up in your house? Why did you become a teacher? How did you meet mom? All of these things that I knew I was never going to have another chance to ask. One of those days we recorded the story that my dad was telling me. And when I shared that with my kids many years later, I was shocked to find out that they were so interested in what he had to say. And I realized in that moment that we had not been intentional about recording his stories. And so now I help families to make sure that they can become intentional about recording theirs. So Daniel, I know that preserving memories and the stories is a really important piece about GoodTrust. Can you share with us how GoodTrust handles that?
Absolutely, Robyn. And you and I have talked before, and every time I hear your story, it resonates so strongly, and I'm sure it does with everybody who's joined us, and the value of passing on those stories to your children and to others, and that's the stuff that matters, as you say. So we've been thinking a lot about how to offer ways for people to do that. And you can see one of them here in action with Rikard's picture, and we call it GoodTrust Memories. And it's going to look a little familiar if you're fans of the Harry Potter series. You'll know those portraits that kind of come to life. So the idea is that you can take any photo, current or historical. So it could be a photo of somebody who has passed away. Maybe there's no existing video of that person, or you never had a chance to meet them in person. And you can use GoodTrust Memories to upload that photo. You can then choose how you would like the photo to animate or come to life. We use AI and facial recognition technology. And you can decide, maybe you want to have it to be a fun kind of an expression or nostalgic. I don't want to give anything away, but we're thinking about some other ways to kind of let people decide how they want it to be represented. And then you can share this animation with friends or family, maybe people who knew that person. You can post it on social media. Maybe it becomes something that you include in an email or something that you want to share with somebody. And it really is a way that kind of brings these photos to life. If you're like most of us, you probably have thousands of photos that are maybe tucked away somewhere, even ones that you are meaning to digitize. This is a way that we think can really, reinvigorate those memories and bring those people to life in a way that wasn't possible before. So that's what GoodTrust Memories is all about. And as I say, there's more in the works here with what we're doing.
And can I just say thank you, Daniel, for choosing my picture. This is much appreciated.
Rikard always loves when we use him as examples. Yeah.
So I love this picture here, that it is like if you had a photo of somebody that you maybe lost, and you look at it and you think to yourself, goodness, wouldn't it be amazing if I could just sort of bring this to life, or see what they were like in real life. And you've been able to do that in a really, really fun way. So I think that's really neat. And I can't wait to see the new features that you have coming out.
Yeah, one thing I will add too, Robyn, there's an example that we've shared. You can find it on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page of a former military veteran who goes by Papa Jake. And there's an instance where he sees his wife, who had passed away, animated through this type of technology. And his reaction to it is truly priceless. It is I think it really speaks to the power behind what technology can provide in preserving people's memories and bringing them back in this kind of impactful way. Of course, we all have a slightly different sort of visceral reaction when we see this, and if it's a photo of you, or if Rikard seeing himself, does it look like me or not? And I think it's all in the eye of the beholder. I know I've done it with my own grandparents, and I didn't get much time with them when I was growing up, so to see them kind of in this way is pretty cool, and for my kids as well to see that.
The story of the veteran that you just told really tugs on my heartstrings, and it makes me think of the next feature that GoodTrust has here, which is creating future messages. And imagine leaving messages for people in the future. We could say imagine that, but you've actually been able to bring that to fruition. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, there's a little bit of Hollywood here too. We mentioned Harry Potter, the Back to the Future movies where, Marty was writing a note to Doc, and there was all this kind of, traveling through time. Well, that's kind of what we imagined with future messages, the idea of this kind of digital time capsule. So you can use our composition tool, which ideally looks somewhat familiar to people in terms of how you create a message. You can infuse it, with as much of your own sort of personalized, heartfelt sentiment. You can add photos to it. You can drop a GoodTrust memory in there. You can even record a video, and then you can decide when the person receives this. So maybe you're thinking about somebody and their birthday's coming up, you don't want to forget it. So you can schedule it to be delivered on that person's birthday or somebody's anniversary or an occasion. Maybe it's just a note to your future self. This is a way to sort of inspire yourself. Send a bucket list to yourself, send yourself some resolutions. You don't have to wait for New Year's. You can send yourself something anytime, and then you might get this, you've sort of forgotten you even sent it to yourself, and you can maybe in that moment just kind of give yourself that little motivational boost. The idea with this, I would say 2 words: surprise and delight. That's really what we hope that people can receive when they get one of these future messages, and then maybe they decide to send one to somebody else, right? Ideally, there's sort of a contagiousness with this in a good way, that people want to kind of pay it forward once they've received one of these. The other thing I'll say is that, just as an idea, we're going to be talking, Andy's going to be talking a little bit about creating your will here. And one of the ways that we've been thinking about this is that you could record a video and to tell a story, and maybe even show an object or an heirloom and talk about the meaning behind it. So it's not just a line in your will that somebody receives something, it's the why behind that. And it's the emotional attachment to it. How did you get it? Why is it so important? All of those things. So it's, and because you can actually send a future message after you pass away. So you can schedule it. We have ways of determining that somebody has passed away. That's part of what we offer here and we'll get more into the idea of a trusted contact and their role in this. But the idea is that it would be sent only after you pass away. So it could be something to your children. I've been thinking about this too. If something does happen to you, and of course we're all, mortal in that way, but the idea of creating a message of sort of those last words, what would you want to send to somebody? And having that kind of ready to be sent at any time can be a really powerful experience to just think about what to include.
And Robyn, it's just a great feature because it can also be a lot of fun. You can actually take this and capture other memories, like we were discussing earlier, how in your house you may have all the tick marks of your kid as they're growing up. Well, you can take videos as they're growing and capture them and keep sending them and deliver them at different times in their lives. Hey, this is how tall you were last year. Let's see where you're at this year. And it becomes an event rather than just a happenstance. And normally, like you mentioned in your house that you saw that one piece that's not painted because they were having those tick marks. It's funny you said that earlier when we were talking, because in Missouri, I bought a house and in the basement, there was this one spot and I never painted over it because I felt like that was their memories and I didn't want to erase them. And this allows you to preserve those memories and you can't lose them. And it's powerful. You can send messages to your friend that's getting married next month and say, hey, good luck, or have something fun. All these things that you can do, that it's allowing folks to use it more as a lifestyle management tool.
So just to give a little context to our listeners who weren't part of our conversation earlier, we were talking about measuring kids in your home and writing marks on the wall to identify their height. And in my husband's home that he grew up in, they repainted the room without repainting that section of the wall. And so it just makes it, a lot of fun, like you said, where you could still, keep those memories, which are definitely heartfelt and important, but without having to avoid painting that piece. And so it's just another way to really remember the important parts about growing up.
Exactly.
So moving away a little bit from the sentimental stuff and giving everybody a chance to sort of wipe their tears and regroup, we're going to talk about the third pillar of GoodTrust, which is estate planning. And Andy, you have a really great background, like we've talked about, which gives you a unique perspective on the importance of estate planning. Can you talk to us about what it means to you for people to plan ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, the three pillars, right? We have the digital vault, which is so much fun because you get to talk about all the digital stuff, and then the fun videos and the future messages, second pillar. So that's like the present and then the wrapping paper. Well, this is the bow that ties it all. We can't give you a present without putting a bow on the top. Estate planning, it's about three simple things, right? It's about people, possessions, and purpose. What we want to make sure is that you give people direction so the answers are there, because often in my profession, when I've been in funeral homes where families have walked in grieving, holding each other and carrying each other into an arrangement conference room, having conversations. And as the questions are asked, people start disagreeing because there was nothing in writing. And someone says, well, I think I'm going to take dad's couch tomorrow. Well, you can't touch that. Oh, mom's going to wear glasses. Well, she never wore her glasses. And they start arguing and they leave broken and arguing rather than together and really holding each other. Estate planning goes beyond just those physical things. It's really, it helps people heal when they know what they're supposed to do rather than guess what they're supposed to do. As we will show you, we give you the opportunity free of charge to go on our platform and create a will. In 15 minutes or less, you can actually create your will. Simple questions that you never usually think about on a daily basis will be asked that will challenge the way you think, because often if it's not written, it doesn't exist. And as you go through the flow, it really walks you through it, holds your hand, kind of like Sean Connery, like Rikard likes to say, holding your hand through the process, which it's amazing because as you go through, it's so simple. You can do it on your cell phone. You can actually do it on a tablet. I'd rather do this than wash dishes because it takes about as long to do this. It's so much easier. And did you know that 2/3 of Americans do not have a will? It's mind-blowing. So as you go through the directives, it'll ask you, do you have children? Do you have pets? Often we forget that when pets are left behind, if you do not say, I want you to take care of my babies, they'll end up in the Humane Society and you never know what happened to the dogs. And that happens often. Simple things like when you're going through the process, if you have children, who will care for them if you die before they're old enough to take care of themselves? You do not want to leave that up to the state. You want to protect them. Just creating a will and really planning your estate is one of the biggest gifts of love you will ever give your family.
So Andy, there might be some people out there who are wondering, are wills only for people who have a lot of money?
No, absolutely not. Look, as you're seeing here on the screen, the process is simple. And what I want you to think about is most people do not create a will because it's perceived to be very expensive, which it is if you hire an attorney, it's time consuming, which it would be if you have this massive estate. However, a will can prevent those families from breaking apart. A will if you have a car, 3 pence in a backpack, you should still have a will, because when you're gone, someone needs to decide. Personally, when my grandfather passed away, I was always working with him in every project he did. He had this old toolbox with these craftsman tools that smelled in a peculiar way. I just always said they smelled like him. And when he passed away, those tools were taken by a non-family friend and sold at a yard sale, when everyone in the family knew they should have gone to me, but that discussion never happened. So I never got those tools. His guitar, that I was with him every day, played that guitar. I loved the sound of it. It ended up under a bed for many years, and I finally was able to retrieve it, and it was damaged and I had to have it repaired, all because this wasn't written down. What's funny is earlier I was thinking about this, and the only thing that actually got to where it was supposed to be was after I joined the Marine Corps and I came home from recruit training, my mother actually found these cufflinks that were my grandfather's, and she said, "You're the only one that wears suits, so therefore you're the one who's going to get them." But that wasn't written down, and I wear those things only on special occasions. I'm still hurt and bitter in a way because those things should have been mine. You get past it, but you never forget. So I never want my loved ones to go through the same process. So that's why I always say it's about people, protecting the people you love, possessions, identifying who gets them, and purpose. What purpose do you want all the other things that are non-material at times? Because there's a lot of things that are just trinkets that mean a lot to others, that mean nothing to most people when they see them because they're yours. To you, it's just a trinket. To me, this ring, because it's in my finger every day, like Rikard says, this was your uncle's. You will keep it and you'll save it forever. My daughter may want this. My son may want this. I don't know. To me, it's just a ring I earned. But however, to them, it might mean something else.
Sure.
And it's important to identify that.
I can imagine there are a lot of people out there nodding their heads, resonating with your story because it is so powerful. And if you could, I'd like you to explain to us, so we have the 3 pillars of GoodTrust, which is the digital vault and stories and the estate planning, but what happens next?
So I'm glad you asked. So even in the funeral profession, I've experienced this often. People will go into a funeral home and they'll prearrange their funeral 20 years before. Then they'll grab those files and they'll put it in a safety deposit box. The person passes away. No communication happened with the children. No one knew what to do. They go ahead and do whatever they think they want to do with dad. They might just cremate dad, and even though he wanted a full burial with honors, military honors, and then they find the safety deposit box later on and find out they did everything wrong. So you always want to answer the 2 questions. Did I do the right thing? Did I do what they would have wanted? So what we allow you to do with our 3 pillars is, once you've created your will and you print it out and you have it either notarized or have the 2 signatures that you need, depending on the state, you upload it back up to your GoodTrust vault. Using the vault as your safety deposit box in the sky not only allows you to give the key to many other people, but they only get the key when you want them to have the key, whether it's when you're alive or when you pass away. Your DD-214, if you're a veteran, often we can't find that. Your social security card, your passport, all those important documents that you get when you when you buy a house, a big packet that you don't know what to do with because you don't want to lose it, upload it and shred the paperwork, because then it's secured. However, if that's not up there, today's world, during COVID, we had a hard time finding DD-214, social security cards, birth certificates, because the government didn't have the employees to process the request, and therefore this slowed down a lot of estate resolution. A lot of problems were created because of lack of documents. This protects your family from that because you identify the trusted contact. You say, Mom, okay, this is your digital box. My brother Bobby will have this piece. My brother Billy will have that piece. And Andy, you'll handle my funeral items. That way, everything's taken care of. Everyone's got a purpose. We have a plan, and the people are protected. It really is special because in your phone alone, you have more applications than I could probably count. And when you look at all of the information that's in there, none of us know our passcodes. Most of us just use facial recognition or the internet tells you what to do. If you upload all that information in there ahead of time and assign your trusted contact to have either access today or when you pass away, and what level of access, you decide all these things ahead of time, you'll alleviate a lot of pain and suffering.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, oh, sorry, go ahead, Rikard.
No, I just coming back to the vault that I talked about. I think it's so important. What me and my wife find really useful is that even if it's one sort of digital safety deposit box, each item in the box is actually shared with different people. So might share things with my brother and different things with my wife. And then I can also make the setting if they're going to have access to it right now, or only if something happens to me. So it makes it really flexible and easy to do.
So we talked about the safety deposit box sort of as a visual earlier. And really with your trusted contact, you're saying you can give a key to this person to access this part of the safety deposit box. And you can give a key to a different person to access even a separate part of the safety deposit box, maybe even at a different time. So you can really sort of design it the way that you want. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And I think what I found with the will is typically you maybe you give it to your partner and your kids, all of your belongings, but actually, unless you have had that inventory of the things that you're going to give them, they may not find that Scottish Widows savings account that I had if I didn't mention it and have it listed in the will. So listed in the vault. So you need the will, but the vault kind of gives you the inventory of stuff that you're giving away.
So our world has really turned digital and I don't see that, changing anytime soon, but you can see that GoodTrust really has created a solution to manage and organize all of these digital pieces. And you mentioned sort of bringing in the physical pieces with the digital pieces and sort of marrying them together. And GoodTrust allows you to do that to suit your needs in sort of whatever way fits you. So Daniel or Rikard or Andy, do any of you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share today?
I'd say take action, whether it's creating your will, go and create your free account. Look at what is available in there, and something as simple as identifying the apps on your phone and picking someone that can actually help you walk through that process when you're no longer available. Just begin somewhere so you can start sharing and securing really your memories. And if a lot of this has to do with heritage, we're losing different types of our heritage because the old ways are going away. Start recording them. Let's preserve them. That way our children really know where the values came from and not have to come up with their own ways.
Yeah, I would say I completely just get started and take it easy. I think if you have things on paper lying around in some box or some binder somewhere, just take a photo of it, upload it to the vault, share it with, it could be your vaccination card, could be your passport, could be anything, and share it either today or say, hey, only share it if something happens to me, but I don't want this to get lost.
Yeah, I would just add that to remember how valuable all of what you've created in the digital world and the physical world will be to your future generations and to others. And if you look back up through your family tree and imagine what we all could have had access to if they were able to pass that on, right? I mean, these days we maybe only have a few photos of some of our grandparents or great-grandparents and a note here and there. Imagine if you could sort of fill in the gaps in their life and understand more about them and preserve that. And we want to make it as easy and secure as possible for people to just go ahead and get started.
Thank you each for explaining the 3 pillars of GoodTrust, which are the digital vault, preserving stories, and estate planning, which really all come together to create, an excellent tool to really help you pass on the things that matter in, excuse me, in an easy way. Daniel, I would love if you would share with us what everybody gets for joining us today, and also give us a little idea about the new resources you have coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be launching our end of life planning ultimate guide very soon. We will let everybody know through our distribution channels, email and social media. There are already dozens of articles out there that are designed to empower people, educate anyone about, what they need to do, really go through it step by step with all sorts of different information, whether it's around estate planning, securing your accounts to prevent hacking and identity theft. I mean, all sorts of things that people really need to be aware of. So we have a growing corpus of content within our articles, and this end of life planning ultimate guide is going to kind of stitch it all together in a way that people can go through it step by step and feel that kind of peace of mind. So that's coming soon. And then for now, to really thank everybody for their time, and we're deeply appreciative that you've taken this time to be with us. We want to give you this opportunity to really just get started and maybe even expand your account if you have one already. So there's a 3-month free premium trial code. The code is webinar1. We'll provide a link to it, so in the chat, and we'll also email everybody afterwards, so you will have it. But again, it's webinar1. So if you just go to the pricing page, and when you go to checkout, you can add that code in there and get access to even more of what you maybe have already started to explore. And then we are also going to send you an ebook code to Digital Legacy, so that you can decide to learn more about what this means. You know, when Rikard and I put this book together, we were, learning a lot ourselves, and we wanted to give people the right kind of perspective on all of this, but also some really pragmatic ways to get started. So ideally, it feels like a compendium to what maybe you're learning already. And we're also going to do another one of these, so we hope you'll join us for the next one sometime around the end of October 28th, and we'll feature some aspect of estate planning. So again, we really appreciate everybody joining us today, and look forward to the next ones. And Robyn, can't say enough about having you here as well. This has been really great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We have a question here that I'm going to just put out to the panel there, and whoever speaks first can sort of take it. The question is, how do I bring up digital legacy and end-of-life planning to my parents and grandparents without offending them or sounding like I'm planning for them to die?
Can I take that one?
Yes, for sure.
There's one thing that's sure. I just did some really in-depth research, and the mortality rate in the US is 100%. So we're all going to die at some point. And if you don't want to approach it about end of life, start talking about planning life. It is a lifestyle planning tool. It just helps you at the end of life to put everything together. But if you start doing this at the very end every time, it's going to be painful. It's going to be rushed. If you start now, when you have time to have the discussions, it's a lot easier. Having the discussion with elderly parents, grandparents, I want to preserve everything that is you. Please give me that opportunity so I can share it with my kids, and their kids can share it with theirs. If I don't get all this stuff from you, if we do not make these videos, if we do not take the photos and upload them, things may get lost. And I want it to be your message, not mine. Something of that sort can change the narrative, so it identifies with the person and they understand it's about the people and the purpose, not the product.
Yeah, I will say, just to add to that, that when I've approached my dad about, just retaining his memories and stories, or asking him to do this kind of stuff, I think he almost maybe feels like it's going to jinx him, right? It's like, if he does that now, then he will die, because he's checked that box, and somehow it prevents him from kind of pushing through that membrane. But I also, do talk to him about the value of all of, he's an only child, and the value of that for his grandchildren. And that, it's something to think about, not just when you're maybe at any sort of advanced years, but even, even well before that. I think, it's easy to forget that all of us possess a story, and so much of it is digital these days. And it's in photos, and it's in posts, it's in emails, it's in, everything about us, our accounts, right? And I think that we have to remember that the people around us really do want to save that and pass it on and have it in some ways and secure it. And so, yeah, opening the door to these conversations can be tricky, but I think that it's absolutely worth it, and to do it in a safe way.
I just want to add one more advice. I think my wife's father, he's super organized. So of course he has binders with everything, and he saved everything. So he's been doing this for probably the past 15 years. And he says that it's great because now you can have everything. And when you look at that wall of binders of things he collected for the past 15 years, it's like, it's a needle in a haystack. I mean, where would you ever find something? So I think that maybe it's not everything, but to answer the question is that maybe there are these few things that you can start. Could be photo memories, it could be, the deed to the summer house, or, it could be various kind of things that, you don't want to get lost, and you don't want to have someone going through your stuff either. Make it easy.
And it might even be the simpler things, right? Like my Netflix account and my utility bills and finding out who my cell phone carrier is and all those things that, are personal. And you may or may not share that information with a spouse because you might not find it to be important in the moment. But can you sort of walk us through what would a trusted contact find if they came into the GoodTrust, say they lost their loved one and they came in and they see all these accounts? What is their next step? How do they handle those?
Yeah, I can do very easy. So let's say that for an account, what you provide is essentially, I have a bank account. I would provide maybe the account number, and then you can have a little commentary saying that here, this is my savings account or something like this. I want you to do the following. And then if you have let's say that you have your Facebook account, and then maybe you say, here's the URL to my page. Maybe you provide access to the account, and then you say, listen, if I'm gone, I want this to be a memorialized page. I want to live on Facebook forever. Or maybe you say, no, delete me. I want to disappear.
And I would just add to that too, that there's a cost associated with this, like a real financial cost of not knowing what all these accounts are, not shutting down the subscription services, not, getting rid of the ones after somebody passes away. And if you don't know that they have them, then they're going to continue to get billed. It becomes a huge headache to try to go back and, either get a refund or whatever it is. So if you can let people know just in this relatively straightforward way, just about the existence of these accounts and getting access to them, there's a cost savings too, aside from, kind of everything else we've been talking about.
For sure. Well, in the interest of time, I think we're going to wrap up here. Do you have any closing comments that you'd like to share?
I just want to say thank you, Robyn. You have been a fantastic host, and we really look forward to continue working with you, and I hope this was helpful for everyone on the webinar.
Robyn, you've been fantastic. And I always like a call to action, which is take action today. Start the account and just baby steps. Upload something, share something, animate a picture. Once you start, you'll see how easy it is, and your family will thank you for it.
Yeah, it's a brave new world. And if you've learned anything today or through your experience with GoodTrust, maybe share it with somebody, right? Add them to your account, give them some sense of the importance and the value of it, and kind of spread that knowledge and spread that love to others. And just a shout out to our respective social channels. If you want to keep up with us, we're available on all sorts of different platforms, and we would love to hear from you and interact with you in any way that's valuable.
Great. Well, thank you so much for including me today. And I hope that everybody who's here joins GoodTrust again on October 28th for the next episode in the series.
Thank you, everyone.